Hi everybody, this is SAAD. A few days ago I posted a clip wherein I went over the uh, grievance studies experiment that was recently conducted by Peter Boghossian et al. Well, I have here in front of me papers that Pete had sent me uh, as part of that project. And so what I thought I would do today, I read you part of the dog park and the queer theory and rape culture and so on that they had published in one of the journals that had subsequently been retracted by the journal when they realized that oops. But what I wanted to do today is I don't think I'll have time, or maybe it might be too long to read all of the papers that were sent to me. But what I'll do here is I'll read uh, the first batch, about 10 papers, not the full papers, although you really should read every single word of those papers because they're just brilliant. But I'll read the title and the abstract of the papers in question, and then in a subsequent clip, I'll do it for the remaining papers, because it's important that you get a sense of what we're talking about when we're discussing these grievance studies, intellectual terrorism BS. So here we go. So this is a paper, I guess I don't see it published, so this is one of the ones I guess that either didn't get published or was maybe under review. I'm not sure the status of each of the papers. Self-reflections on self-reflections, an autoethnographic defense of ethnography. Autoethnography is a discipline of research that combines the autobiographical and the ethnographic to explore democratized scholarship and challenge the hegemony of situated knowledge. It is often denigrated and criticized, however, for being a kind of, quote, navel-gazing me search, close quote, instead of being recognized for its legitimate academic worth. In this autoethnographical account, I document my own engagement with lived experience as a cis hetero white male challenging his own situatedness through experimentation and direct engagement with transformational autoethnographic research and feminist literature. In the process, I am to provide an autoethnographic defense of autoethnographical research and simultaneously demonstrate and extol this body of literature through the very medium that it presents. You truly can't imagine how good this satire is. I mean, this is truly GAD level quality. Big honor to be bestowed with that title. Paper 2, Strategies for Dealing with Cisnormative Discursive Aggression in the Workplace, Disruption, Criticism, Self-Enforcement, and Collusion. So this is the abstract now. Despite considerable advances over recent decades in understanding that gender is performative, socially constructed, and neither fixed nor stable, assumptions of cisnormativity, that cisgender is natural and, quote, normal, persist throughout society and the workplace. As outlined by Steph Schuster 2017, trans and other non-conforming individuals are held accountable through various forms of discursive aggression to cisnormative assumptions in the workplace. This study thematically analyzes semi-structured interviews of 18 trans and other gender non-conforming individuals and develops a four-category framework for categorizing their reactions to cisnormativity and its enforcement in the workplace with implications for practice. Particular attention is given to the self-protective rationalizations that accompany self-enforcement. These discursive reactions include disruption, critique, self-enforcement, and collusion with cisnormative expectations. You really need to appreciate that for them to be able to write this kind of stuff and have it, in many cases, get accepted, they truly have to immerse themselves in the sea of BS in order to be able to mimic the nonsense. So it's not an easy task to do what they've done. Kudos to them. The next one was published, I'm sure that by now it's been retracted, was published in a journal called Sexuality and Culture. Going in through the back door, challenging straight male homo hysteria, trans hysteria, and transphobia through receptive, penetrative sex toy use. And here's the abstract. To date, very little research literature exists concerning receptive, penetrative, anal eroticism in straight men. Of particular interest are its impacts upon other factors relevant to masculinities, sex role, and the study of sexualities. Several constituted features of masculinity are likely to be relevant to straight male anal sexuality, including masturbatory play with penetrative sex toys. Specifically, this study seeks to explore, quote, do men who report greater comfort with receptive penetrative anal eroticism also report less transphobia, less obedience to masculine gender norms, greater partner sensitivity, and greater awareness about rape? Close quote. This study uses semi-structured interviews with 13 men to explore this question, analyzed with a naturalist and constructivist grounded theory approach in the context of sexualities research, and introduces trans hysteria as a parallel concept to Anderson's homo hysteria. This analysis recognizes potential socially remedial value for encouraging male anal eroticism with sex toys. So that was paper 3. Paper 4, My Struggle to Dismantle My Whiteness, a critical race examination of whiteness from within whiteness. Abstract. The academic study of whiteness is integral to the critical study of race, and it has mostly been done by people of color. Simultaneously, some of the most effective scholarly inquiry into whiteness utilizes autoethnographic methods in which women of color document a critical examination of the influences of race and gender upon their lived experience, including whiteness. Although pioneering white scholars like Peggy McIntosh have explored the issue, little autoethnographic research has documented the white subject's discovery of her own complicity in whiteness. This autoethnographical account of a white woman problematizing her own whiteness seeks to fill that gap. By the way, if you're hearing in the background some noise, that's my elliptical machine agreeing, getting excited, getting aroused at all of this postmodernist stuff. The next paper is the dog paper, so we'll skip it. I've already addressed that in the previous clip. Sorry about that noise. All right, here we go. Fat studies. This was actually published in a journal, so I'm guessing maybe it's been retracted now. So this is in a journal called Fat Studies, an interdisciplinary journal of body weight and society. Who are they to judge? ? Overcoming anthropometry through fat bodybuilding. And the abstract. While fat activism has disrupted many dominant discourses that causally contribute to negative judgments about fat bodies, it has not yet penetrated the realm of competitive bodybuilding. The author introduces fat bodybuilding as a means of challenging the prevailing assumptions of maximally fat exclusionary sports cultures, while raising fundamental ontological questions about what it means to, quote, build a body, close quote. Specifically, he advocates for imagining a new classification within bodybuilding termed fat bodybuilding as a fat-inclusive, politicized performance and a new culture to be embedded within bodybuilding. So as I always say, when you have fat, it's just a form of soft muscle. All right, next one. Stars, Planets, and Gender, a framework for a feminist astronomy. I'm thinking they must have been looking at my tweets when they generated some of these, because this is very much within God territory. Abstract. Understood broadly as the scientific study of the stars, astronomy ranks among the oldest of human fascinations, studies, and knowledges. Still, the relationship among science, gender, and astronomy, however, have gone under-investigated. Masculinist approaches to epistemology, science, and astronomy, as well as gendered and colonialist systems of knowledge production and verification, have excluded and marginalized knowledges, narratives, and ways of knowing from women, indigenous people, and other sources outside the Western-centric androcentric scientific paradigm. To remedy this problem, this paper proposes a framework for feminist astronomy that critically examines knowledge production in astronomy and the sciences. 2. Recognizes gendered and colonialist approaches to astronomical knowledge. 3. Challenges these systems of scientific domination. And 4. Provides alternative knowledge sources and research methods for astronomy. Feminist astronomy draws upon feminist theory, post-colonial theory, and feminist political ecology to analyze while challenging and disrupting masculinist hegemony within astronomy and the natural sciences, leading to more inclusive, diverse, and equitable astronomy more focused upon human relationships to the stars. It is not easy to read these while trying to stay with a straight face. Okay, this was published in a journal called Feminist Theory. Super Frankenstein and the Masculine Imaginary, Feminist Epistemology and Super-Intelligent Artificial Intelligence Safety Research. Abstract. Artificial intelligence safety researchers consider the potential emergence of machine superintelligence to be a matter of existential urgency. It is therefore a site of considerable techno-scientific and philosophical theorizing that has, so far, largely excluded feminist epistemology. In such, this essay approaches superintelligent artificial intelligence through a combined Irigareyan and Harawayan post-human techno-feminist lens to illuminate how the current trend of AI research and prospect of superintelligence represents a dream-turned-nightmare scenario for the masculine imaginary. It then conceptualizes this circumstance by comparing it to feminist literary analysis of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, treated as a warning about this potential epitome of masculinist techno-scientific hubris. Truly, this is an incredibly accurate satire of the way all this bullshit is written. Believe me, I've had to evaluate these types of quote works, and it's exactly like this. It's gibberish, nonsense, collective psychosis, one after the other. All right, next I'll do two or three more. Quote, pretty good for a girl, close quote, feminist physicality and women's bodybuilding. Most feminist literature on bodybuilding has focused on the debate between whether women's bodybuilding is a form of empowerment which defies gender expectations or whether it perpetuates oppression even while masquerading as an emancipatory act. The sociocultural variables that contribute to the woman's built body are relatively neglected, particularly those which explain the gap in muscularity and size between women and men who actively participate in competitive bodybuilding. Building upon existing feminist and gender constructivist literature and the author's own 50-year experience as a professional bodybuilder, this paper explores the social environment in which female bodybuilders find themselves as the explanatory mechanism for why female bodybuilders are consistently smaller and less muscular than their male counterparts. This is actually something that I've satirized independently, the idea that, the only reason why Bubba, the center who plays for the University of Arkansas football team, is bigger than some woman is because, it's all due to the social construction of muscles. All right, two more and we'll call it quits for today. Oh, this is a published paper. It's published in Ephilia, Journal of Women and Social Work. Our Struggle is My Struggle, Solidarity Feminism as an Intersectional Reply to Neoliberal and Choice Feminism. The women's movement has long been pluralistic, yet in recent decades has diversified further along lines of individual choice versus collective action. This has been enabled by new opportunities for women that were not universally accessible. As a result, a form of, quote, choice feminism has developed in some feminists, especially in contexts in which neoliberalism is dominant, while calls for intersectional allyship, inclusion, and solidarity have grown louder in others. Responding to this tension, many scholars, particularly those within the field of social work, have shown that choice feminism is characterized by a number of problematic themes that can paradoxically reinforce oppression for marginalized people. Particularly, it can offer a heuristic of choice that is used to justify feminist decisions that benefit a small set of women at the expense of standing in solidarity with others and remediating oppression. This complex problem may benefit from a detailed interrogation of allyship and its attendant repercussions. Consequently, this paper forwards a framework for, quote, solidarity feminism, that is, an approach to feminism that centers solidarity against oppression by favoring inclusive, values-based allyship over choice feminism as an intersectional means to address one aspect of the enduring universalism problem within the feminist movement. Bravo. And then finally, we'll do one more, and then the other ones I'll do them in another clip. Grappling with hegemonic masculinity and heteronormativity in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and mixed martial arts constitute two strongly overlapping, culturally influential communities composed mostly of men who enact a particular strain of masculinity through participating in grappling-based martial arts, or GBMA. Similar to all masculinity projects, grappling-based martial arts participants are constrained by hegemonic forces shaping masculinities, particularly heteronormativity, machismo, female exclusion, and a marked interest and propensity toward violence. This paper critically examines the strain of masculinity unique to GBMA, drawing on psychoanalytic approaches, and reveals it to be best understood as an overt manifestation of phallic masculinity that is extended toward the hypermasculine by a homoerotic yet homophobic tension predicted upon performative homosociality and and symbolic homosexuality. I'm losing my mind here. Specifically, GBMA masculinity can be understood as a strict phallic masculinity expanded to include symbolic expressions of violence as a hegemonic masculinity approved vent for repressed male-on-male homosexual desires and behavior in the absence of socially sanctioned opportunities for healthy male-on-male touch. An understanding of this dynamic within GBMA reveals its parallels with marginalized homosexual masculinities and offers the potential to shift it toward greater openness, honesty, and inclusion. I need to send this paper, since it's a combat sport, I need to send it to my nephew, Ariel Helwani, and also to my buddy, Joe Rogan. Maybe they could benefit from learning about this homoerotic stuff. All right, guys, so this is where we left off. I hope I'll remember that we left off at Jiu-Jitsu. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 more papers to go. And again, the brilliance of this investigation is that they really are, in all of these papers, doing a fantastic job at perfectly mimicking the BS that has parasitized the minds of thousands upon thousands of people, made people lose hundreds of millions of dollars collectively through wasted tuition fees. And so the quicker that we laugh these schmucks out of town, I mean the proponents of these grievance studies, quote, disciplines, the quicker we can return to educating our children to think, to learn, to collect evidence, basically to be well-adjusted, well-rounded, educated people. Cheers, everybody. Hope you're having a good Sunday.